Hello, my name's Kate Fellows and I'm the Head of Learning and Access for Leeds Museums and Galleries, and welcome to my dining room. It's got art, it's got stripy wallpaper, it's got books on the other side but you can't see them. It is an absolute embodiment of me, I suppose, as a person and us as a family. And part of that is a really key bit of it is our cultural capital. Now, I'm going to talk in the next few minutes a little bit about what cultural capital means for me as a professional, us as a service as Leeds Museums and Galleries, and us as a family. But are you sitting comfortably first? Have you got a cup of tea? Because this might take a couple of minutes. And I'll tell you a story or two. Now, when I was little, my dad was in marketing, my mum is a teacher, and dad was constantly being made redundant. It was the 1980s, it was the 1990s, and marketing departments were always the first to go. But even though my mum and dad had very little money, they always managed to buy National Trust or English Heritage membership for us as a family. So we spent our weekends going round lots and lots of houses, parks, gardens, castles, and exploring and doing lots of things. Now, the reason they kept buying that even when they had very little was they thought it was the right thing to do for me as a young child. They fundamentally believed that that cultural capital, although they wouldn't have phrased it like that, was a good thing to do. And it was kind of like a free day out once you'd bought your membership, because you packed your sandwiches, you ate them in the car if it was raining, and just outside the car if it wasn't. But my childhood is filled with those experiences. Just a couple of them are, one of them was Snows Hill Manor in the Cotswolds, if you know it. It's a house filled with lots and lots of different things. And the volunteers who were there at the time when I was about 7 or 8, they let me hold some things they probably wouldn't have let me hold now. As a museum professional, they opened drawers, they told me stories. It was really like bringing that historic place to life. And then another time I remember at Kenilworth Castle, where there were chaps and ladies dressed up in medieval costume and knights, and they were sword wielding and fighting, and it really brought the whole pile of stones to life. Those kind of incidents are probably the reason why I am standing here working in the arts and cultural sector now. Now, I have a son, he's 7, he's absolutely brilliant, he's an amazing little person, and he's getting a fast track to cultural capital. Because of childcare reasons and things like that, sometimes he has to come to our previews with me. So he thinks it's perfectly normal that Mummy stands chatting with her friends and people talk to him, and there might be some drinks and there might be some canapes, and he gets a first look at all kinds of things of our exhibitions and other organisations when we go to those. He also thinks it's perfectly normal that Mummy brings home the odd elephant tooth, 3,000-year-old Egyptian object, because if I've done an evening event and I can't get them back to the museum, then they have to come home with me. But we sit around the dining table and we look at them and we talk about them and we basically do a mini workshop. Now, at some point, he's going to realise that that is not usual, that his friends' families don't do that. I mean, we've had some conversations to that effect now. He's a very bright 7-year-old. But he's going to have a massive shock, probably, to work out that other people do other things in their spare time. There was a point when he was about 4, he asked whether me and my husband know everybody in Leeds, because the places we hang out, which tend to be arts and cultural venues, we tend to know people and we say hello and we stop and have a chat. And he seriously thought we knew everybody in the city. Now, the reason I do my job, the reason our ethos is as it is in Leeds Museums and Galleries, is because I want every child in the city to have that experience. He shouldn't be the only one just because he happens to be my son. Every child should have access to that fast track of cultural capital that's grown throughout their childhoods and means that they grow on to be wonderful, brilliantly prepared adults when they get there. So how do we do that? Well, as Leeds Museums and Galleries, we do lots of teacher training, both for initial teacher training and for in-service teachers. And what we try to explain when we're doing all of that is that culture isn't just a one-off hit. It's not just the actual going to an art gallery and seeing an exhibition, going to a workshop at a museum, or wandering around, say, the Yorkshire Sculpture Park and looking at beautiful things. It's how you build that into your curriculum and that arts and culture should be the golden thread that drives and runs through your curriculum to help develop your students' cultural capital, because it will stand them in good stead for their attainment, for their attendance, and for all those softer well-being skills. So how do you do that is what teachers usually then ask. Well, it can be as simple as using a film or a photograph just at the start of your lessons or as part of your week's programming for your curriculum. But arts and culture can drive things like maths, it can drive things like science. It doesn't have to just be visual art, music, drama, maybe some English and maybe some humanities. It can be a lot more than that. So, should we try and change things and the way we do things? Well, one of the ways we tried to was through the Leeds Curriculum. It's an arts and cultural based curriculum. It sits on mylearning.org, and actually you can teach any subject through it. And it's based on the stories of Leeds that we want our children to know by the time they leave primary school. There's ones about circus, there's ones about science, there's ones about people of the city and buildings of the city. There is something across the entire city and geographical area, the entire chronology of the city in terms of historical perspectives, and lots about the different communities that make up this brilliant city that we live in. So have a look at it, see what you think. We're always open to other suggestions. It's not a static thing, it keeps growing. That's one of the ways in which we can start making sure that every child in this city has that level of cultural capital. Anyway, I've probably chatted enough for now, so I'm off to get a cup of tea. I'll see you in a bit. Bye.